Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make Sorcerer's Apprentice Cupcakes, complete with the cute tall sorcerer's hat that Mickey just can't keep himself from trying on in Fantasia during the Sorcerer's Apprentice. I'll show you the chocolate cupcake recipe, how to make some quick and easy homemade fondant for the star and moon hat decorations, and the trick to making the tall hats. Let's jump right in and make some magic. To make the chocolate cupcakes, in a large mixing bowl, start by adding 1/3 cup of dark unsweetened cocoa powder, 1/3 cup of dark chocolate chips, bittersweet or semi-sweet, and half a cup of really hot coffee. Mix this all together until it is smooth and the chocolate is melted. If you don't want to use coffee, you can use half a cup of boiling water instead, but using coffee will help make the chocolate flavor even more chocolatey. Once the chocolate mix is ready, add to it 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, half a cup of sour cream, half a cup of vegetable oil, 2 eggs, or in my case an egg substitute for the eggs. I used flaxseed. If you want to know how to make the flax egg, link is in the banner and description. And finally, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. This particular extract is homemade. It's really good. Link in the banner and description if you want to learn how to make vanilla extract yourself. Mix all of the wet ingredients together and then add to it 1 cup of all-purpose flour, half a teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Give this one final mix until everything is completely combined and smooth. Don't forget to let your helper have the beater. That is of the utmost importance. By the way, I should mention the quantities I am listing for this recipe will make 12 cupcakes. In the video recording I halved everything because I only wanted to make 6 cupcakes at the time. With that being said, once your batter is ready, grab a cupcake or muffin pan filled with cupcake liners and pour the batter into the cups about 2/3 of the way full for however many cupcakes you're making. Take the prepared cupcakes and put them in an oven that's been preheated to 325 degrees Fahrenheit and bake for 18 to 20 minutes, or bake until a toothpick comes out clean when inserted into the center of the cake. When they are done, carefully remove from the pan and allow to cool completely. These cupcakes are excellent by themselves. Tons of chocolate flavor, moist and great texture. But we're not done yet. Now it's time to make some edible sorcerer's hats. First off, we'll need some fondant for the cute stars and crescent moon that are found on the sorcerer's hat. You could just buy the fondant, or you can make it yourself with this quick and easy recipe. The trick to this fondant recipe is marshmallows. Add around 4 ounces or 2 big cups of mini marshmallows to a large microwave-safe bowl along with about 1 tablespoon of water. Microwave for 30 seconds on high and then stir everything. Repeat this in 20-second microwave increments after this until everything is melted and smooth. Once everything is smooth, add in 1 1/4 cup of powdered sugar and mix and incorporate this together as best as you can. After you've mixed as much as you can, grease your work surface and your hands with some sort of oil or shortening. I used coconut oil. Some vegetable shortening like Crisco would work for this too. You'll want to make sure you are generous with the oil because the marshmallow mix is really sticky. After this, turn out the mix onto the counter and start kneading it just like you would a typical dough. When it gets too sticky, add some more powdered sugar or grease your hands or work surface as needed. Keep kneading this until the fondant can form into a smooth and elastic ball, one that you can stretch without it tearing and isn't overly sticky. If the fondant tears too easily, you can add some water in a half teaspoon increments until it becomes the right consistency. For this time, since I was only making small stars and moons, I did not need a whole lot of fondant. If you're planning to use this for a big cake or something, you might want to double or even quadruple this recipe. The fondant will keep good for several months in the fridge when wrapped tight in plastic wrap, so any leftover will keep good for quite a while. With the prepared fondant, it is ready to be rolled out and turned into decorations. Lightly dust your work surface with powdered sugar and roll out the fondant to 1/8 to 1/4 inch thick. Now ideally you would use a little crescent moon and tiny star cookie cutters to press down and cut out the shapes. Man, that would have been nice. Since I personally don't have cutters like that, I relied on my limited artistic abilities and carefully cut them out with a small paring knife. The crescent moons weren't half bad. The stars, on the other hand, were real tricky. Why is it so hard to draw an even-shaped star? I ended up making a template and then cutting around that. After a while and some practice, I did end up getting some halfway decent moons and stars cut out. If you have some small cookie cutters in these shapes, definitely use those. If not though, I have now proved you can get by without them. Just takes a little bit more time. With the stars and moons cut out, you could use them like this, but on the hat from the film, they are a golden color. So I busted out the edible paint I had left over from when I made Mickey Raspberry Rose macarons. But the gold is all dried up, so I ended up using the bronze pinkish colored paint instead. It ended up looking pretty nice, I think. My son really liked the color anyways, so that's a win for me. And with the cupcake and fondant decorations all ready, last thing to make is the tall hats. For the frosting, this time I started with some pre-made white frosting. To make the frosting blue, you could use some blue gel food coloring, or in my case, I used some butterfly pea flour powder. I'm trying to use some natural food colorings more often whenever I can. Simply add the coloring into the frosting until you get the blue shade you want. My wife said my shade of frosting was more of a periwinkle for this, but we both agreed that it still looked nice with the cupcakes. Set some of the frosting, maybe around half a cup, aside in a piping bag for later. With the remainder, microwave it in 30-second increments until it is a pourable consistency. With the pourable frosting, it is time to color the hats. For the hats, you'll need sugar cones. Take the sugar cone and while holding it over the frosting bowl, ladle on frosting over all of the outside of the cone and allow the excess to drip off. Once all of the cone is covered and the excess has dripped off, carefully place the cone onto a piece of parchment paper and allow it to dry completely. Repeat this with however many hats you're making, and that's it. Cute little periwinkle sorcerer hats. To prepare the Sorcerer's Apprentice Cupcake, take a chocolate cupcake, top with one of the blue frosting covered sugar cones, use the reserved frosting to pipe around the hat base, and lastly, carefully place on a fondant crescent moon and 2 fondant stars. My moon and stars were a little on the big side, but I guess that's what I get for freehanding them. To help the fondant decoration stick to the cone, you can add a little bit of frosting to the back when placing them on. I was real happy with how these turned out. They are quite adorable. Now this recipe was greatly inspired by the one listed in the Disney Cookbook, Cooking with Magic, A Century of Recipes. And in that book, it has a big old picture of these cupcakes front and center on the title page inside. Upon seeing it, this was the first recipe that my son specifically requested we make from this cookbook, and I was happy to oblige. I think he and his brother were quite excited to help make them for real life.
I want this. But she took the door off. I want one. I want one. Good.
Again, this recipe was greatly inspired by the one listed in the Disney Cookbook, Cooking with Magic, A Century of Recipes. I'll be trying out several more recipes from this book over the next year or so if you're interested, be sure to subscribe and follow along. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or learned something new, please consider leaving a like to this video. Also subscribe if you like Disney food. I make quite a bit of it on this channel. Thanks again. See you next time.